Am I the asshole for destroying my sister's wedding after what she did to my husband? Asterisk, let me start by saying I never thought I'd be the kind of person to write one of these. But after what happened at my sister's wedding, and the way my entire family turned on me like I'd personally burned down a church, I need to know if I'm actually the monster they're painting me to be. I'm 35, half. My husband, Evan, is 37 them. We've been married for 8 years and together for 12. We've had our ups and downs like any couple, but he's always been my person. Thoughtful, funny, emotionally intelligent. He's the guy who remembers my coffee order, leaves notes in my lunch, and spent 3 nights in the awaiting room with my dad when he had a stroke, even though they'd only met twice. My sister, Julia 28F, has always been complicated. We weren't close growing up. She was the golden child, pretty, charming, always knew how to work a room. I was the bookish one, more into theater than parties. Julia got the attention, the praise, the leeway. I got the lectures and the expectations. Still, I never really resented her. Not deeply. I figured we were just different. We lived our lives, saw each other at holidays, smiled for family photos, surface level stuff. Until last year, when she got engaged to her now husband, Brad. The engagement party was where the weirdness started. Evan and I showed up with a nice bottle of wine, dressed appropriately, cheerful and supportive. Julia greeted Evan with a weird hug, too long, too tight, and didn't say much to me. I brushed it off, but then I noticed how often she texted him. At first, it was little things. Hey, can you recommend a good moving company for me and Brad? Or LOL, remember that joke from the party? It didn't sit right, but Evan always showed me the messages. He wasn't hiding anything. Then came the bridal shower. Julia insisted Evan come, even though it was supposed to be a girls-only event. Her excuse, he's basically family and I want him to take pictures. Okay, weird, but fine. At the shower, I noticed her leaning into him when she talked, laughing too hard at his jokes, touching his arm. Evan looked uncomfortable. Later that night, he told me he felt like Julia was flirting. You're not imagining it, he said. I didn't want to say anything because she's your sister. I confronted her the next day. I was calm but direct. Julia, you're being inappropriate with Evan. I don't know what's going on, but it needs to stop. She burst into tears, claimed I was insecure and jealous. Told me I had always tried to ruin her happiness. Said Evan was just being nice and I was blowing it out of proportion. I backed off, mainly because our mother called me later that night and begged me not to cause drama with the wedding so close. A week before the wedding, Evan got a message. Anonymous Instagram account, no profile picture, just a screenshot of a conversation between him and Julia. Only. He never had that conversation. The messages showed him flirting, asking if she was really going to marry Brad, telling her he'd always wondered what it would be like to be with her, suggesting they meet up, but the tone, the spelling, none of it matched how Evan talks. It was clearly fake. We compared it to his actual texts. The grammar was off, the sentence structure was wrong. He never abbreviates things like you or are, but these messages were full of them. Also, the timestamp was during a time we were both at a family dinner together. It was a setup. A bad one. Evan wanted to drop it. He said, she's trying to get between us. She wants you to flip out and ruin the wedding so she can play the victim. But I couldn't let it go. I dug deeper. Looked at the fake account's metadata. The IP address pinged in our hometown. So did the recovery email. With some clever sleuthing and the help of a tech-savvy friend, we traced the account back to Julia's work laptop. I was stunned. Julia had faked flirty messages from Evan too, herself, then sent them anonymously, hoping I'd find them and freak out. But why? What was the end game? The day before the wedding, I cornered her. Showed her the screenshots, the metadata, the timestamps. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just asked why she denied it, of course. Said I was stalking her. Said Evan must have set her up to make her look bad. I walked out. I told my parents. My mom cried and said I must be misinterpreting things. My dad was silent. Evan backed me 100%, and then the wedding came, and I made a choice. The morning of the wedding, I woke up with a pit in my stomach. Evan was already up, pacing our bedroom like he was walking into a courtroom. He kept asking if I was sure if this was really what I wanted to do. Not out of fear, but concern. I'll stand by you either way, he said. But once this happens, there's no going back. He was right. If I showed the world what Julia had done, I'd blow up her big day, possibly ruin her new marriage, and turn my family into a battlefield. But if I stayed quiet, she'd walk away the victim again. Well, Evan and I were left carrying the burden. So I told him the truth. If we let her lie, she wins. I can't live with that. The ceremony was in a rustic barn venue, floral arrangements everywhere, the smell of eucalyptus and overpriced roses filling the air. Everyone was dressed to the nines, sipping champagne, taking selfies in front of the love marquee letters. I walked in wearing a dark green dress, not black. I wasn't trying to be theatrical, but something that made me feel grounded. My parents gave me awkward smiles. My mom looked like she wanted to hug me and slap me at the same time. My dad just gave me a nod. Julia looked radiant, no denying that. Her dress was some custom-designed lace number that cost more than my car. She had that polished glow people get when they know all eyes are on them. She didn't look at me. Not once. The ceremony began. The officiant started the usual spiel. I could feel my heart pounding. Evan squeezed my hand. I waited. Until the speak now or forever hold your peace line. I stood up. And the entire barn turned. The officiant's voice faltered as everyone turned to look at me. A few guests gasped. Julia's head snapped toward me, her expression a perfect blend of horror and disbelief. Brad, standing at the altar with a dopey smile, looked confused. I stepped into the aisle. My legs were shaking, but my voice was clear. I'm sorry, I said, but I can't let this wedding go forward without saying something. Julia's face turned red. Are you kidding me? She hissed. The officiant tried to regain control. Perhaps we can. No, I said, louder now. This can't wait. I pulled out my phone. I have proof that Julia created fake messages to make it look like my husband tried to cheat with her. She set him up, lead to everyone. And when I confronted her, she denied it. But I have the metadata, the IP address. It all traces back to her. You could hear a pin drop. I looked at my parents. My mother had a hand over her mouth. My father had gone pale. Evan stood behind me, arms crossed, calm but firm. Brad looked at Julia. Is this true? She stammered. I don't know what she's talking about. She's trying to ruin my wedding because she's jealous. I swiped through the screenshots. These were sent from an anonymous Instagram account. But the recovery email is Julia's work address, and the IP address matches her office. I even have the login attempt timestamps. I turned to Brad. You deserve to know who you're marrying. For a long, painful minute, nobody said anything. Then Brad walked off the altar and turned to Julia. Tell me this isn't true. She looked like she might faint. It's not. She's twisting everything. You can't believe her. You tried to seduce my husband. I interrupted. And when that didn't work, you tried to make it look like he came onto you. I didn't. You created fake messages, sent them from an account you made. You're not denying it anymore because you can't. We both know the truth. Julia's voice cracked. I didn't mean for it to go this far. That was it. That was all it took. Brad's face fell. Wow, he whispered. So it is. True. He turned and walked straight out the barn doors. The guests murmured like a hive of bees had been kicked. Julia burst into tears. My mother ran to comfort her. My father sat down, looking like someone had punched him in the stomach. I didn't stay to watch the aftermath. Evan and I left together. In the parking lot, I cried. Not because I regretted it, but because I'd finally said it out loud. And because I knew the fallout would be nuclear. We went home, ordered pizza, tried to breathe. The phone calls started an hour later. First, my mom. How could you do that to your sister? Then my aunt. You could have waited until after the ceremony. My cousin. Was it really your place? My father didn't call, but Brad did. He thanked me. Said he felt like he'd dodged a bullet. Said Julia had been acting weird for weeks, but he'd chalked it up to wedding stress. He said I saved him. That made it worth it. But the worst part, the silence from my parents in the days that followed. Julia went online, posted a sob story on Facebook. Said I sabotaged her wedding out of jealousy, that I always wanted to outshine her, that I was bitter and unstable. Some people believed her. Others messaged me privately, thanking me for my bravery. I don't know what happens next, but I know I told the truth, and I know I'm not sorry. The days after the wedding were a blur of silence, side-eyes, and whispers I wasn't supposed to hear. Julia hadn't just spun a lie, she lit a fire and tossed it into the middle of our family. And I was the one left standing in the smoke, trying to breathe. My mother wouldn't return my calls. My father texted once, let things cool down. That was it. Meanwhile, Julia went into full victim mode. Her Facebook post got hundreds of reactions. She said I had a long history of undermining her, that I was mentally unstable, and even hinted that Evan was controlling and had manipulated me into believing things that weren't true. It made me sick. The comments were even worse. Her friends rallied around her. You didn't deserve this. Your sister sounds toxic. Some people can't handle someone else's happiness. I wanted to scream. Evan told me to let it go, but how could I? My own family was painting me as the villain. My sister had tried to blow up my marriage and walk away wearing white, and now she was trying to bury me under her sob story. But I wasn't done. I posted my own truth. Not on Facebook, not publicly, but I wrote an email. Calm, factual, bullet-pointed. I attached the evidence, the screenshots, the metadata report, even a timeline of events. I sent it to my parents, to my aunts and uncles, to Brad. Within hours, the reactions trickled in. My aunt Leela called. She was crying. I had no idea. I'm so sorry for doubting you. Uncle David simply replied, thank you for your honesty. But my parents silenced. Until the next morning. Mom called. You humiliated your sister on her wedding day. She humiliated herself. I said, I just pulled back the curtain. She's still your sister, and Evan is my husband. She tried to destroy my marriage. And you're defending her, she sighed. Julia's not well, no. Julia's manipulative. She's always been this way. You just never wanted to see it. That ended the call. I started therapy. I knew I needed help to untangle the mess in my head. My therapist, a soft-spoken woman named Diane, listened without judgment. She validated my anger, but also helped me grieve the family I thought I had. Brad reached out again. We got coffee. He told me he'd moved out, called off everything legal and financial with Julia. I keep wondering how far she would have gone if you hadn't stopped her, he said. He wasn't angry, he was heartbroken. I thought I knew her, so did. A week later, Julia emailed me, subject, you ruined my life. It was 3 sentences. I hope you're happy. I lost everything. I'll never forgive you. I didn't reply, but I saved it, just in case she ever tries to rewrite history again. Then came the real blow. Thanksgiving. My parents announced they'd be hosting as usual, and Evan and I were invited, but Julia would be there too. We expect everyone to be civil, Mom said. Let's just enjoy the holiday. I almost laughed. Civil, after everything. Evan left it up to me. If you want to go, I'll support you. If not, we'll make our own Thanksgiving. We went because I wasn't going to let Julia own the family narrative. I wasn't going to let my absence be twisted into guilt or shame. When we walked in, the room felt quiet. Julia sat at the far end of the table. Her eyes met mine and narrowed. My mother gave me a tight hug. My father didn't meet my eyes. Dinner was awkward. Conversation tiptoed around any real topics. At one point, Julia made a snide comment. Some people just live to ruin other people's happiness. I didn't respond. But Evan took my hand under the table and squeezed. Let her see. Let her simmer in the stew of her own destruction. I had nothing to hide. But I knew this wasn't over. The days after Thanksgiving were oddly quiet. No angry texts. No backhanded comments on social media. Just silence. And for a while, I fooled myself into thinking it was over, that Julia had finally accepted defeat. But then my dad showed up at my house. Unannounced. I opened the door to find him standing there in a coat too thin for the cold, holding a folded envelope and looking 10 years older than he had at Thanksgiving. Can we talk? He asked. Evan was in the living room. I shot him a glance. He nodded. I stepped aside. We sat at the dining table. My dad placed the envelope in front of me. What's this? I asked. Julia's statement from therapy. I blinked. Therapy. She started a few weeks ago. Her therapist suggested she write a letter to you. It's supposed to be an apology. I didn't touch the envelope. She said she wants to move forward. He added, try to make things right. I was so tired of Julia's half-hearted, self-serving attempts to pretend she was the victim. I stared at the envelope. Did she read it to you? He nodded. It's not perfect, but it's a start. I sighed. Did she tell her therapist what she did? He looked uncomfortable. She said she embellished the situation. Got caught up in jealousy, but she regrets it. Embellished, I said sharply. She tried to frame Evan. That's not embellishment, Dad. That's sabotage. He rubbed his temples. I know. I just ... I don't want to lose both my daughters. The words hit me hard. For the first time, I saw the desperation behind his neutrality. He wasn't picking sides. He was trying to survive the implosion of his family. I finally opened the envelope. The letter was 5 paragraphs. It started with a vague apology. I'm sorry for what I did. I let my emotions get the best of me and quickly turned into a plea for forgiveness. She mentioned our childhood, our shared memories, and how she felt like she was always in my shadow. There it was again, the idea that her pain justified her actions. I folded the letter. She still doesn't get it. My dad looked tired. Maybe not, but maybe this is as close as she ever come. I wanted to scream. Julia had tried to wreck my marriage and gaslight me into believing I was the problem. And now she wanted to cry about being in my shadow. I stood up. I'm not ready to forgive her. And I don't think I ever will be. If that means I lose you two, then I guess that's the price. He stood too, looking devastated. I'm not choosing sides, but silence is a choice, Dad. He left without another word. That night, I sat on the couch with Evan and read him the letter. When I was done, he said, it's not an apology. It's a justification. Exactly. But life went on, slowly, painfully. Evan and I started planning a trip. Somewhere far, somewhere quiet. I wanted distance. I wanted to remember who I was before Julia set fire to everything. And then one final blow. I got a call from Aunt Leila. Did you hear? She asked. Hear what? Julia's pregnant. I nearly dropped the phone. With Brad? No. Some guy she met 2 months ago. Moved in with him last week. She announced it at brunch like it was a royal decree. I didn't know what to say. A part of me wanted to laugh. Another part wanted to cry. Julia, always chasing the spotlight, had created her biggest scandal yet. She said she's inviting everyone to a baby shower in the spring. Aunt Leila added, good for her. I said flatly, you're not going, are you? Absolutely not. I hung up, turned to Evan, and said, you know what? Let her have her circus. I'm done playing a role in it, and for the first time in months, I felt free. The next few weeks passed in a strange sort of quiet. Julia didn't reach out. My dad didn't call. My mom sent one half-hearted text asking if I'd seen the baby shower invite, but I ignored it. Evan and I booked a trip to the coast and left. Everything behind for a week, just ocean, salt air, and silence. It helped. But only a little. When we got back, I found an envelope in our mailbox. No stamp, no return address, just my name written in Julia's unmistakable handwriting. I opened it on the front porch. Inside was a single page, handwritten. I know you think I'm a monster. Maybe I am, but you don't know what it was like growing up with you. You were always perfect. Everyone loved you more. And when you married Evan, it just proved how far behind I was. I didn't want to hurt you. I just wanted to feel like I could win for once. I never meant for it to go this far. No apology, no ownership. Just more of the same narrative she always pushed, that her jealousy gave her the right to destroy people. I ripped it in half and tossed it in the trash. Evan saw the whole thing from the living room window. When I came inside, he didn't say anything, just opened his arms. I buried my face in his chest and whispered, I'm done. I'm really done. But that wasn't true, because my mother called that night and asked to meet for lunch. Alone, she emphasized. I agreed, not because I thought anything would change, but because I needed closure. We met at a little cafe halfway between our homes. She looked tired, more tired than I'd ever seen her. She didn't waste time. Julia's struggling. The pregnancy has been rough. And she's not with the father anymore. I blinked. Already, she kicked him out, said he was too controlling. I almost laughed. The irony was suffocating. She's been asking about you, my mom continued. She says she wants her sister back. She had a sister, I said. She lit her world on fire. Mom's eyes shimmered. She's trying to get better. She's trying to fix her image. That's not the same thing. She asked me to invite you to the baby shower. She's holding it at the house. I stared at her. You're hosting. She looked away. She needs support. And I want to be there for her. It felt like a punch to the gut. Did you ever think about what I need? I'm trying, she whispered, but I'm still her mother, and I'm still your daughter. The one she tried to destroy. The rest of lunch passed in strained silence. When we parted, I hugged her out of habit. She didn't hug back. At home, I cried, not because of Julia, but because I finally realized something. My parents would never see me the way I needed them to. The day of the baby shower arrived, and Evan and I made plans to spend the weekend away. We rented a cabin in the mountains, turned off our phones, and spent 2 days in total peace. When we got back, my inbox was full. Aunt Leila had sent photos of the baby shower, Julia beaming in front of pink balloons, my mother holding her stomach, a sign that said it's a girl. I deleted every single one, but one email stood out. It was from Brad. Subject, that you should know. Inside was one photo, Julia and the baby's father, sitting together on a couch. She was in his lap. His face was bruised. Brad's message was short. She told me he pushed her, but I talked to him. He says she threw a lamp at his head because he asked about Evan. I closed my laptop. My stomach turned. There it was. The pattern, chaos, accusations, playing the victim. And I knew, without a doubt, that if I let her in again, it would only be a matter of time before she hurt me again. I didn't respond to Brad. I didn't call my parents. I didn't say a word. I just sat with Evan on the back porch, stared at the stars, and held his hand. He looked over at me. You okay? I nodded. For the first time in a long time. Yeah, I think I am. Asterisk. Julia had the baby. She named her Grace, and she she asked for you in the delivery room. I didn't return the call. There were too many things broken between us to pretend her. Reaching out at her most vulnerable meant anything was fixed. I didn't hate Julia, not anymore. That had been the hardest part, letting go of the hate. It had kept me warm for a long time. had made me feel powerful, but it also made me bitter and hollow. Evan helped me see that. He'd been patient, present, and never once tried to rush my healing. He just stood by me. Grace, the name stung. It was the name Evan and I once joked we'd give our daughter. Life moved on. Evan and I moved to another city, started our own business together. My parents visited once. The conversation was polite, but shallow. They talked about Julia like she was the prodigal child who'd just needed time. They never really asked about me. I realized then they didn't understand what they'd lost. Or maybe they never truly saw me to begin with. I stopped expecting them to. Then, one afternoon, I ran into Brad. He looked older, tired. Said he was going through a divorce from Julia. I asked. He gave a humorless laugh. Didn't marry her. But I did stick around too long. He hesitated, then said, "You were right about all of it. She doesn't change, she just resets." It was the closure I didn't know I still needed. "I hope you're okay," he added. "I am," I said. And it was true. I'm not the person I was when Julia destroyed my wedding day. I'm not the woman who begged her parents to choose her. I'm not even the sister who wanted revenge. I'm just someone who learned the hard way that sometimes family is just DNA, and sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is walk away and never look back. So, am I the asshole for destroying my sister's wedding after what she did to my husband? Maybe, but if I hadn't, I'd still be pretending that blood was thicker than betrayal. I'd still be swallowing her poison with a smile. I might have ruined her day, but she tried to ruin my life, and I refused to let her win.